and get started. Hello and good afternoon to everyone. My name is Steve Hendricks, and I'm the president of CVi Connect. Thank you for taking time to join us today. Really, thank you for your patience, not just today, but over the last couple of months. I know that everybody is anxious and eager to see the CVi Connect app, and I again appreciate your patience as we work through the finalization of the app, getting it through the Apple Store, and all of the processes that went on behind the scenes. So thank you for that. So here's our objectives today. I really just kind of want to walk through with you how to get started on Monday when the app becomes available on the App Store, kind of walk through the mechanics of how that's going to work. And then I'm going to ask one of our CVi support staff, Stephanie Stepford, to really kind of walk you through how you're going to navigate the app, just at a very high level, so you can kind of get a feel for the workflow of the app itself. And then I'll close with a couple of thoughts on our expectations of you all as early adopters in the program and what your expectations should be of us. So those are the three very simple objectives of today's webinar, and we should be done in time for you all to ask questions. So while your phones are muted now, at the end of the webinar, if you have questions, by all means, we'll give you some opportunity to ask those questions. So as I mentioned, one of our objectives is to walk through how to get started. So on Monday of next week, Monday, August 28th, you'll receive an email from us with a link that will allow you to go to the website and register in the program. You'll remember that the program itself, the Early Adopter Program, is a $50 per month program, but as part of the Early Adopter participation, you'll actually get 3 months or 90 days worth of access to the app for that $50. When you go to register, it'll ask you to enter your credit card and account information, just like you would on any website. Then it will provide you with your password. So take note of that password, write it down someplace. It'll also be emailed to you later, but just so you have it, just kind of make a note of that password for the app itself. Then you'll want to open the email that we'll send to you that will be a verification email that will allow you to verify your account. From there, you'll go to the App Store, you'll download the CVi Connect app. Then when you open the app, you'll log in with your username, which is the email that you will have used during the registration process, and the password that you were provided. From there, once you have the app open, there will be the opportunity to watch the Getting Started video that's been created. After you've watched the Getting Started video, you'll be free to use the app and the activities that are available for you and your child that we'll have pushed down to you as part of the process. And Stephanie will go through a little of that here in just a second. We would encourage you to use the support forum to give us your feedback, and I'll talk a little bit more about that here as we wrap up today, is what our expectations are of you all. So with that said, I am going to turn this over to Stephanie Stepford, make her the presenter. And as I do that, I'll tell you a little bit about Stephanie. She is one of our CVi Connect staff, and she is a teacher of the visually impaired, is her background. She also has gone through the process of being endorsed as a Perkins-Roman endorsed CVi specialist. She also works very closely with us, as she is the niece of one of our developers, and it's really Stephanie and Brent Kevin, her uncle, that came up with the idea for CVi Connect. So we're thrilled to have Stephanie as part of the team. And with that said, Stephanie, I'll turn it over to you to walk through the navigation of the app for the folks on the call. Make sure you make that as big as possible, Stephanie.
That is as big as it gets.
Okay.
Well, thank you, Steve. Hello, everyone, and like Steve said, thank you for joining us today. Let's take a look at what you'll find once you log on to your CVi Connect app. So what you're seeing here is what we refer to as our dashboard. Here you'll find a series of flexible cards that will change in order to enhance your experience. Some of the basic cards will include your profile here at the top and your team contact information. We offer a variety of communication cards as well. In this next section here, you can see that. These new messages may display in their own card, or they might be found in the messages card. So, for example, this top part here is displaying its own card, and then down below, this is the actual messages card. So that'll kind of change just depending on how you're interacting with your app and the needs that you and your child may have. So let us know what is and is not working with that. You can communicate all of those things through those communication cards. We will also use surveys in order for the CVi Connect team to provide tools that fit your child's needs. Again, some of the surveys may display directly on the dashboard, while others may be waiting for you in the survey card. Before your child is able to get started on any of the activities, we will need you to first complete a survey here. And once you touch it, it will scroll over. It'll give you, oh, sorry, this is the messages card. I'm sorry. Okay, so when you go into the surveys, it'll load the survey, you'll touch that, and then it'll ask you the questions. When you're done, you need to make sure you hit the complete button on the bottom right-hand corner, and that'll send the data over to us into the system. As you are navigating around the app, you will also notice that on the top left-hand corner, there's always a back arrow button, and that'll get you back to your main dashboard at all times. So as you click that, it'll get you back to that main dashboard. Now that you've completed your survey, when you get back to that main dashboard, you can refresh your dashboard by touching the dashboard icon on the bottom left-hand corner. It looks like a stack of cards falling into a card holder down here. So, oops, I'm sorry, you guys, I have to switch between screens. There we go. So when you do that, this will be the screen that will display for you, and this is your new dashboard. Your CVi Connect will have more individual cards available and even more in the queue to be created. But that will, they will all operate similarly, so don't be alarmed if your dashboard suddenly has some new cards. Just select the new card and check it out and see what it has to offer you. One of the new cards you'll see after your first survey will be your activities card highlighted in yellow there. Here you will find a list of activities uniquely assigned from your CVi Connect team based on your child's CVi range score. Currently, the activities are being hand-selected by your CVi support staff, so they may not show up immediately, but we intend to have those done in a timely manner so you and your child can get started. So when you touch that activities card, your child's assigned activities will appear in a list on the screen. Your child's list may be a little smaller than this one because I have all of them up there right now, but more will be added as your child successfully completes them and is ready for a new challenge. As you'll notice, underneath each of the titles, there's a little sentence, little blurb there, and that is your objective assigned for that activity or set of activities. You may notice that when you're looking at the list, some of them have numbers after it. For example, these here say birthday 1 through 12 or whatever, and this one is cat out of sight, things like that. So they're numbered, but in order to access the activities, you only have to go to the first one. So for example, here it says elephant 1. You're only going to select the first one in that list. You don't actually have to ever go into elephant 2 through 12, and I'll show you what I mean by that in just a second. So we're going to select elephant 1 here. And by doing so, when I click the right arrow once I begin the activity, I'm going to navigate through the rest of that series without having to close and reopen each of the activities individually. So the first thing you're going to see when you open an activity is this instruction box. Please do not skip over this box, as it often will help you better understand what this activity does to support your child's CVi, as well as any other additional information that you or another adult can provide to support the child while they are interacting with the iPad. Once you are ready to begin, you may press the Start button in the bottom left-hand corner. Once you do that, there is a timer at the very bottom that will start to tick, and that will indicate to you that the activity has actually started and that the data is beginning to collect for you. As you can see, I can arrow through, like I mentioned, to the next activity and then interact with the screen as necessary. So if I touch on the elephant here, I'm going to then see that outlining that we like to see of that salient feature, and we can continue to go through the activity. So then once I'm done with the activity, I can hit the complete button. The complete button is really important because that's what's going to send your data back into the system. If you're hit complete before you're done with the activity, we will not be able to collect any of the data that you've been engaging. So please make sure you hit complete in order for the system to collect the data with you engaging in the system. And then again, using that back arrow to go back to the main dashboard. I'll show you the rest of the things that we have available here for you. The more you utilize each of the cards here on the main dashboard, the more data the CVi Connect team will have to accurately support you and your child. For example, the team will review your child's data to determine when and what activities should be assigned next. Therefore, be sure to take some time and use all of the cards, including writing in your journal and documenting some of the progress that you've seen, or maybe documenting your child's mood for the day. Anything that you think may be impacting their performance would be important to note in those cards. The next card down here is your resource card. We want to offer a variety of resources to you regardless of where you are on your CVi journey. The next card that you might see is something like a calendar card. You can create reminders for yourself, schedule activity times, or sync these with your iPad calendar. Lots of capability in there for you. And finally, at the very bottom of the screen, you're going to see this report card. And here you will be able to pull up a variety of data points. So you can see on this first one the sessions that were ran. So you can see that today I've run the elephant activity. If I go to the touch analysis, it'll pull up where I've touched on the screen and the things that I've engaged with. And then the look analysis will tell you the different things that I was looking at on the screen. And then you also have your lifetime data that will collect as how many activities you've run and things of that nature. So that's kind of your data section of it. And if you have any questions with that, we'd be glad to help you out with those things. And I'm also planning on creating more, as Steve mentioned earlier, talked about the getting started video. We are going to add, there's a video section in here. We'll have some videos in here as well to help you navigate some of the different areas in more detail as you guys get going. So we hope you enjoy all the tools that we have to offer for you to allow you to connect with your child's CVi educational team. I know I've covered a lot of information, but I do know this is being recorded, so you can go back and to reference it later. And at this time, I'm going to hand things back over to Steve.
Great, thanks, Stephanie. And if you'll hand me the presenter role back, that would be great. So while she's doing that, I'll just remind everyone that on Monday, once you've registered, you go through the Getting Started tutorial, which again will be much like what Stephanie just went through, maybe in a little more detail. And then there'll be certain activities available to you that have been assigned to you. So where Stephanie showed you all of those activities and she had the whole list available to her, you'll have a subset of that. And once you go through that subset, then we can push down or make available additional activities as your child moves forward. So again, you'll start with a handful, but just know in the background in our library, we have hundreds of these activities that we've developed and we'll make available to you over time. So that's what's been one of the activities we've been going through over the last 6 months or so, is really cleaning up those activities, making them very useful, getting Christine Roman, Lancey's input onto them, and so that everybody's on the same page. So again, that will all be available to you on Monday. And then going forward from Monday, over the next 90 days, as you're a participant of the Early Adopter Program, again, you'll have access to Stephanie and the rest of our CVi Connect support staff. We encourage you that the first step of reaching out to the support team is through the support forum. Some of you have used that already, which has been awesome. There's also a Facebook page that you can use. There's also a blog that you can use. So there's a number of ways to communicate back to us, not only during the early adopter program, but going forward. We're going to be a little proactive with you all for this first 30, 60, 90 days. For the group on this phone call and others in the early adopter program, we may randomly reach out to you and ask if we can get hold of you and do a phone call survey, or we can literally talk to you about your experience with the app and how it's going. We'll also be providing online surveys that we'll expect everyone to complete that's part of the program, and those will be a little more structured, a little less free form, but I think you'll appreciate them. But we do want your feedback, and I can't tell you enough, both positive and negative feedback. I'll call it positive feedback and constructive criticism. The whole idea behind the early adopter program is for us to identify system issues or workflow issues, take your feedback, take your suggestions. That's the point of this, and so we're going to be proactive in reaching out to you all, but we do expect you all to give us some of that feedback as we move forward. So that was really the idea behind today's webinar, was to tell you what to expect on Monday, how to get started, just to give you a sneak preview into the app itself and how you'll navigate that. And Stephanie, thank you again for doing that. And really to set the expectation bar for the next 90 days, beginning on Monday. With that said, I will open it up to any questions. If you're on mute, be sure and take your phone or your device off of mute. And Stephanie and I are on the call. I think Brent might be on as well, who's the developer of the app, to answer questions. So does anybody have any questions for us today? Come on, I know you're not a shy group.
I have a question.
Sure.
I just wanted to ask if there was any help transitioning from iPad support and activities to more paper-oriented as we go forward, because I know that a lot of things can be done on the iPad that doesn't translate into the real world.
Yeah, that's a great question. I would guess either Stephanie, you, or Brent are probably more equipped to answer that. Stephanie, I'll start with you.
So I think this leads into a lot of where your child is at on the CVi range. And so what we are focusing on right now is those kids who are still in need of that backlighting support. And then, you know, as they're working through phase 3 activities and things like that, there's definitely opportunities where you could mimic some of the same things onto paper and kind of bridge that gap to make it a little bit easier for your child. But that's not something that, being an iPad app, that we really would have a whole lot of access to. But I would say that even especially with like the phase 1 activities, when things are real, we really are encouraging you to use some of the same strategies with other things as well. So don't take it as this being the end-all be-all. We really want you to interpret the iPad app as the starting place for where to get going, and then using that to help guide you for other things and how you can have those discussions to use comparative language and things like that in your everyday life, not just for the few minutes that you might be sitting down and to engage in the iPad. Does that make sense?
Yeah, perfect. Thank you.
Thanks, Stephanie. And I would echo what she said, in that the CVi Connect app is part of the overall education and training that you all, I'm sure, are going through. So just consider it another tool or another vehicle, but not the end-all be-all. And I think if you look at it that way, it'll make a lot more sense. Any other questions from the group? Okay, with that said, if you do come up with other questions, there's a number of ways to send those to us, as I mentioned earlier. The the recording of this webinar will be made available to you all as well. So with that said, thank you all very, very much for joining us. We appreciate it, and we'll exit at this point. Thank you much.